Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast, and I am your host, Samuel. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire country. And it doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing to diagnostic lab, you name it. You will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 5% performer within your role in sales, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, and today we have with us another special guest, and he goes by the name of Peter Skidmore. Now, what's really interesting about Peter is he was in aesthetic sales. Today he's actually CEO of MedRepMeeting. It's a company that's revolutionizing the way sales reps get time with their providers and seriously changing the game for medtech companies. But before that, he spent his career in aesthetics device sales. What's so interesting about him is that he did all this without a college degree. And if you don't know about aesthetic sales, a lot of you listening want to get into the industry. You might not have heard of aesthetics device sales, and that's it's equipment in the aesthetic space. It's one of the highest earning industries, and it's one of the most competitive. Now, I'm not going to spoil it and say any more. I'm going to save it for the interview. But this is an interview you don't want to miss. Peter has really shown himself to be the example of working with grit, truly having a hustler's mentality, getting out there and making your way. That's what you're going to get from Peter. But again, I take things too far on these intros, and I get so excited. I just want to tell you the whole interview, but I'm not going to tell you anything. You're going to have to listen. So make sure you tune in. Again, this is an episode you want to hear. And as always, we do our best to bring you innovative guests that are changing the way things happen in medical sales, all the way ranging from pharma and testing to medical device and capital equipment, and in this case, aesthetics. So tune in, and I really do hope you enjoy this interview. Peter, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Absolutely no complaints. So why don't you tell the audience who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Peter Skidmore. I am the CEO, founder of MedRepMeeting. We are an all-in-one platform for medical sales reps nationwide to give back time.
Give back time. I like it, because we can always need more time. Medical sales reps are notorious for needing more time. Let's talk about that a little bit. So MedRep sales meeting, how exactly are you giving a rep their time back? Well, what's happening?
Yeah, so essentially at MedRepMeeting, we schedule all the meetings for the medical rep based off of the doctors that they want to meet with. So you can come to us and say, hey, we want to meet with family practice, derm, plastic, chiro, optometrist, ophthalmologist, urologist, vascular, any type of vertical in the medical space that's, practicing private. We put you in front of the doctor. We do the legwork that you're supposed to do on a daily basis to create volume. So we pick up the phone, we call them on your behalf, and we schedule the meeting. It goes right into your calendar, and then you see all the notes there. So on a high level, from phone call to meeting, everything is in line with what the rep is looking for and the physician they want to meet with.
Fascinating. So is this something that the company gets and then the reps just use it, or do reps come to you and they can use this if they feel like
Great question. It's both. Some companies pay for it for all their reps, and then some reps pay for it for themselves because the company doesn't have that budget allocation, or they're using that money for marketing or whatever the case may be. But we're seeing more and more of the rep go to company and say, hey, we need this, kind of deal. So we're seeing it both ways though. So it doesn't matter whether it's just an individual rep or a company, we can serve both of them.
Fascinating. So with this service then, I'm assuming your reps develop really good relationships with the reps that they're working for, and it's kind of like a team effort for each customer.
Yeah, that's great. Great question. And we can kind of dive into that a little bit. So my reps, basically, you will work with me and your client experience director on, the type of doctors, the products, all of those things. And then it's my job to train that down to my reps, or the reps that are going to be scheduling on your behalf. So they basically know everything about what you're selling to these practices, or what you want to meet with these practices on, and then they're booking those meetings. But yes, communication is key in a lot of these scenarios. So you'll have direct access to a client experience director who manages your day-to-day calendar per se, making sure that things are going smoothly, your meetings are going well, and you're closing deals.
When you hear about this service on the surface, it sounds like a dream, like almost too good to be true. Like, wait a minute. So I can go into my territory and all my appointments can be just waiting for me to step into, whether it's a no access doctor or a doctor that's just tough to get into, or a hospital or a practice. I can just have it all lined up for me, ready to execute on. Like I said, it almost sounds too good to be true. Talk to us about when people haven't experienced your services and then they do. I mean, what are they saying afterwards? What's it like?
Yeah, it's crazy. So, and they're like, this is what we've always needed and wanted, right? So not only do we schedule the meetings, we also just, partnered with LeasePoint for the biggest kind of launch in this space in history, and allowing you to walk into pre-approved doctors financially. But, what they're saying is Peter, why haven't we had this over the last 10 years? And the reason is they've tried. They've tried to bring it in-house. They've tried to have, outsourced, companies do this. And the issue is the people that in the business that were doing this, is they haven't seen it on the surface at that high of a level to really understand how to create volume. And when we look at this and we say, okay, well, the average MedRep schedules 2 or 3 meetings a day, and you have that rep A, and then you have rep B that schedules 15 to 20 a day. Who's going to win? It's the rep that schedules 15 to 20, because there's no way that the rep A with 2 or 3 and the same vertical can create the same revenue with 5x less meetings, right?
Right.
So to answer that question better, it's companies are seeing this, and reps are seeing this and saying, hey, now we can go out and pull the best talent in medical sales and tell them they have a fully booked schedule. So now I can go after the top reps in the whole space and say, listen, you never have to pick up the phone again. We'll have all your meetings on your calendar with the doctors you want to meet with. And we're saving the rep 10, 15, 20 hours a week on the phone. Right? So now they have more time to manage their current customer database and upsell, or maybe, customer service, whatever that case may be. Or maybe they have more time to take their kids to basketball practice. Or maybe they have more time to spend with their wife. Or maybe they have more time to go hiking, or go skiing, or go out on the water, or go to the beach, or take vacations. Right? All of these things that I didn't have over my period of time of being a rep, doing 8 million, 12 million, 13 million, 10 million, all of these years, that's the key, right? That's what I missed, was that time that I had to spend on the phone to get that amount of meetings, when that same rep is doing the same exact thing, scheduling 2, 3, 4 meetings a day. I'm popping 25, 30, 40 meetings a day.
Right.
So that's kind of, where we're at in that regard.
Okay. I love it. So you said your time, you learned all this and you created this business from your experience in the industry. Let's take it to you now. So to take us back to college, I ask every guest this. Was it medical sales in college? Were you saying, you know what, I can't wait to be the best medical sales rep ever? Or was it something you stumbled upon? What was the focus in college?
Samuel, I love this question. And a lot of you may be listening or watching thinking, yeah, I just graduated. I really like med sales. It's attracted me my whole college career. And you guys went the college route. 1 month or 1 quarter into college in 2007, I realized that I could make more money than all of my brother's friends that just graduated from college by selling cell phones. This is when, Samuel, the flip phones came out, the texting phones, the Palm Trios, the Blackberries with the balls. It turned from the rich people are able to have cell phones to now we're adding lines for $10 and now everybody can get a phone. So I hopped into 2007, 8, 9 when the market crashed, but everybody had a cell phone. So I was in kind of a recession-proof space. And at that age, I didn't even realize that. I was just working, every day doing well at work while people are getting rocked in the stock market. I had no clues. I was just focusing on my goals of making more money than my brother's friends that were getting out of college.
Sure.
So after a few years of doing that, then, moved out to Arizona to help my brother who was, just had finished school to help him financially and ended up getting on the phones. Remember, I only went to one semester at college. Then I was a manager at Verizon for a while and growing stores and selling phones. And then, when I got out to Arizona, I had a job opportunity with a company by the name of Yodel, who later, were acquired by web.com. And I was calling doctors, lawyers, and dentists. So, and I was selling the marketing over the phone, did really, really well. And a year later, I got recruited to another company that did similar things, did really well there. And then, there was a time in my life where, I didn't know where I was going, direction I wanted to take. I was still making plenty of money on the software side, tech.
And you had only had one semester of college, so you didn't even have a degree.
Yeah, didn't have a degree. So I got a phone call, and he knew my brother was the best man in his wedding. And he picks up the phone and he says, "Peter, your brother tells me that you're really, really good at sales. I want to invite you to the MLB, and I want to invite you to the New York Yankees. This is the biggest territory. We do the most revenue, but you have to move from Washington to Maryland." So pre-marriage, I picked up my bags, got on an airplane, and flew to Maryland and took a job as a territory manager, which is the lowest level of the totem pole in aesthetics. Small base salary, OTE, 120, 150. And the average rep was scheduling 3-4 meetings a day. I came in scheduling 10, 15, 20 meetings right away.
So let's pause there. There's listeners right now that don't really understand what it means to be a med rep in aesthetics, especially when you talk about the OTE. People are not familiar. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what it means to be rep in aesthetics and what opportunities are?
Yeah, aesthetics is the craziest space in medical. When you talk about the glory, that's the wrong words, like the golden arches that everyone's searching to get in med sales for. Sometimes it's to help patients and doctors give better quality of care to their patients. Sometimes that's the goal for a medical rep. Well, for me, when I looked at medical reps, I thought about the cheddar. Right? How much money can I make? And when he told me in 4 years, some of these OTEs are 500, 600, 750, over $1 million, my head lit up like a light bulb. I was the best everywhere I've been, number one. And now I get to go to the New York Yankees and be the 12th man and prove to them that I'm the best. So medical aesthetics is different, right? Capital aesthetics is very different. You're selling a product that, can range anywhere from 60 to 350 grand. And it's all about the story and excitement, right? So when you go in medical aesthetics, it's a learning game, right? Your knowledge is so powerful. You got to remember that these doctors meet with aesthetic reps all the time. So what makes you different, right? What makes your product, your story different?
And what kind of doctors are you calling on in aesthetics for the audience?
Yeah, it's wild when you look at this thing. Everything from optometrists, ophthalmologists, vascular, cosmetic surgeons, plastic surgeons, cosmetic derms, medical derms, family practices that don't understand aesthetics, family practices that are doing any aesthetics, OBGYNs, GYNs, chiropractors, any practice that is suffering from managed care, we're going after. And when you look at this thing high level and you look at reimbursements, most practices are suffering from that. So when you look at the trajectory, right, we have a solution, and aesthetics is a solution to that. To outpace the devastating facts of managed care, aesthetics is a way that doctors can do that. So, we can get them into a place of financial freedom, but at the same time as, they don't have to give up their practice to a hospital or a private equity or a big group. So that's where aesthetics comes into play.
Got it. Okay. So you got yourself into aesthetics, and then tell us what was going. Go back to so you were saying you were in aesthetics, and you realized
So jumped in, and I didn't have any meetings. I didn't know anything. All I knew is I had to meet with doctors. So creating a script and doing all these things, trying to schedule meetings with doctors, and in just a week's time, I was scheduling 10, 15, 20 meetings a day. And that evolved over, the 6.5 years in the space, where at the end, I was able to schedule 25, 35, 40, 50 meetings a day. And it changed the trajectory of me and my team, because now my team can worry about selling and not setting. And I thought, well, this is great. I'm on every deal because I schedule the meetings, and they're happy because they never have to pick up the phone. So we were winning, and everyone was happy, because when people are happy, Samuel, the money will always follow.
Absolutely.
So when you look at this thing and say, hey, I want to get into medical sales is going to make me happy. Well, if you don't understand what medical sales really is, high level, whether it's pharma, aesthetics, pain management, whatever that case may be, if you don't understand what that job is really like at the macro level, then how do you know it's going to make you happy? And when you can worry about your happiness more than the job, that's when you're going to be successful, right?
I like it. Okay. Yeah, I like it. That makes sense. Okay. So you're killing it in aesthetics. You're starting to see this discrepancy with booking meetings, and you're seeing that, look, the more meetings I book, and it makes you happy, it makes the team happy, and everybody's doing better work, and the company's making more money, so the company's happy too. So, and then you did 6.5 years of this. When did you transition from, I love this, I see a need, I'm going to go capitalize on it? What happened?
Yeah, it's crazy how this happens. And sometimes in life, it takes time to really understand it. So I moved from Maryland to Washington State. So I went from DC metro area, Washington State, 2 years up there. And, at the point when I was up there, we were, Washington State for the first time was number one. We were crushing it.
Right.
My wife and me have always said, hey, we want to get to Florida where the sun shines and we can go to the beach on the weekend, right?
Sure.
We can take the kids to Disney and Universal. My son can go meet Spider-Man. All of these cool things that we couldn't get up in, on an island in Washington, an hour away from Canada, right?
Right.
So in January of last year, I left Washington, transferred with Cynosure to Florida. At that point, Florida was like, less than $3.5 million. I come in June 1st. So July 1st. July 1st to the end of the year, we ended up doing 10 million, north of 10 million that year. Now in January, a lot of changes started happening in aesthetics. People are leaving, new companies are evolving. A lot of this writing's on the wall and I'm starting to think, do I want to be a rep anymore? And then I was talking to my wife, talking to some of my mentors, my family, and I'm explaining to them, money's great, making a lot, right? I'm in a position that not a lot of people get to have that don't go to college, right? Created some really, really great relationships. But I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need to miss time with my family.
So let's pause there. Let's pause there because I want to get into that. I want people to understand what that actually means. So you said the money's you're making great money. You're helping these practices. You're in this kind of dream field of aesthetics and capital equipment and aesthetics.
Yep.
What was really going on? You weren't. Was it because you were booking so many meetings that you were just from 6 a.m. to 9 at night? You were gone. What was going on that you said? What? I want to transition to something else.
Yeah. So when you look at med sales at a super high level, and you have big territories or small territories, it doesn't really matter. I was out of my house on Sunday, and I would return back home on Thursday. So from Sunday to Thursday, I was away from my family. But in order to produce the volume that we were producing, I had to be Monday morning in a coffee at 8, coffee at 9, a coffee at 10:30, and then a lunch at 12, and then an afternoon meeting. I was running 4 to 5 meetings a day.
Got it.
Where the average rep is 1 or 2 meetings a day.
Got it.
Right? So after doing this for so long and being away from my family and my wife and my kids and watching my kids 3, 5, and 10, missing them growing up, missing so much time, I had, it was a click in my brain. I said, look, I can't do this. I've missed all this time with my family. I made a ton of money. We're going to be all right. I need to give that back. How do I give that back? Well, we have plenty of money. We can survive for a good amount of time. Let me just not work anymore. We're good. I can always go back into med sales. I did really well, and people know who I am in the space. So it shouldn't be an issue if I ever need to get back in and do that. Great. We have that option. Well, 2 weeks went past, went to Disney and Universal, lots of time with the family, the beach, all of these things. And then I woke up one morning and I said, I could probably make 6 figures and work like 10 hours a week and just make calls. 3 calls later, and we're there. And that's when MedRepMeeting evolved and said, hey, now I have to go get an LLC, and now I have to do all of these things. And then my LinkedIn inbox from CEOs and VPs and SVPs, Peter, we've been waiting for something like this. We've been waiting for something like this. What is this? I want to find out more. So we just continued growing and, focusing on executing, scheduling the meetings at a super high level and adding in the financial piece. But more importantly, creating the most valuable thing in life for the reps in time. Because for me as a rep, I never had any. But now for the first time in medical sales history, you can have more time than you've ever had because now you can just worry about going to your meetings.
Got it.
So that's why this whole thing evolved. It was really a mind switch of time. And now it's funny is, I work 8:30 to sometimes 2 in the morning and I don't have much time, but I do have time to go give my wife a kiss and she makes me coffee in the morning. I do have time to take my daughter to school in the morning. I do have time to watch a movie at night if, in certain situations, I do have more time than I've ever had with the people that I love because that time is irreplaceable. And once I've understood this at a high level, it's changing the aspect of how a lot of reps look at life now because now they have more time than they've ever had.
Love it. I absolutely love it. So let's talk about a little bit about that. And I still want to stick on medical aesthetics too, because, right now you're going to have reps listening and people that want to get into the industry listening. And they're like, wait a minute, medical aesthetics. And that was Peter Skidmore. That was episode part 1. So make sure you tune in next week for part 2. And as you can hear, he was barely getting warmed up. So you're definitely going to want to tune in next week for part 2 because he really gets into it about the industry, about aesthetics, and about what he's doing that's changing the game and what his company's doing really that's changing the game with MedRepMeeting. So maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? I didn't even know there was aesthetics capital equipment and I want to be all in. I want to be in aesthetics, or I want to learn more, or I want to understand if that is a role that I could do one day. Help me out. I talk to so many professionals, and what I hear more often than not is they're just not clear on where they want to be. They've heard of medical sales. They've heard of being in the OR. They might even be a nurse that's in the OR or a customer service rep that's interacted with a medical sales rep in the waiting room, or just something that's happened that's tuned them into medical sales, right? You know, whether you're a sales rep, a teacher, a nurse, a customer service rep, someone that's a tech, a physical therapist, even a chiropractor, it doesn't matter what space you're in. If medical sales has come across your radar and you're in this place in your own life where you're saying, you know what, I love what I do, or maybe you don't love what you do, but either way, I'm ready to do something that's more impactful. I'm ready to do something that's going to allow me to do more for my family. I'm ready to do something that's going to give me a full-blown career with endless possibilities. Then I say take action. Take action and make something happen. Go to evolveyoursuccess.com, select Attain Medical Sales Role, and schedule some time and have a conversation with one of us and learn what is possible for you. The reality is this. So much energy can be spent in trying to get a position, right? Your resume, you're not even sure how it's supposed to look. You go online and you kind of flip through job postings and you're really not sure what they mean or what they're saying or if it's for you or not for you. You might talk to a sales rep or two and you don't even know what questions to ask them. You might even get yourself an interview opportunity and you get stuck at interview 1, maybe interview 2, or maybe you don't even get past the recruiter. Who knows what your situation is? I don't know. But I know that if anything about what I'm saying is resonating with you in any way, shape, or form, it's time to do something different. It's time to take an action. It's time to go to evolveyoursuccess.com, and it's time to select Attain a Medical Sales Role, submit the application, and have a conversation with someone that can show you exactly what you could be doing within 90 days. So, as always, we do our best to bring you guests that are changing medical sales with innovations that are blowing the mind left and right. I am so overjoyed even, to bring them on this show and showcase them to you so you can learn what's happening in this industry. And this is not even the science tech. These are things that are ancillary to doing the job. So, you know, it really is a vast space. And I think that there's something out there for everyone that wants to be in medical sales. There's a fit. Medical sales is so vast that there's a fit for you regardless what space you come from. And for those of you that are in a role right now and you're doing your best to make things happen, we got 4 months left in this year. It's time to crack it up. It's time to turn up the juice. It's time to turn up the volume all the way to max. It's time to really go all out. But you're not sure how to make that happen. You know you're supposed to be going all out, but you're not clear on how to organize your day-to-day tasks. You're not clear on how to generate that new business or where your business is even coming from. You're not clear on how to take your sales interaction from, yeah, that sounds nice, or I'm mildly interested, to, you know what, I can't wait to utilize your device or product or drug or test. Again, stop wondering. Stop sitting there hoping that things will be different. Take an action. Go to evolveyoursuccess.com, select Improve Sales Performance, and have a conversation with one of us. Make sure you tune in next week with Peter Skidmore, part 2. He gets juicy. It's going to be good. And thank you for listening to the Medical Sales Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a couple programs that show you exactly how to break into the medical sales industry, become a top-performing medical sales professional, and also how to masterfully navigate your career to executive level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolveyoursuccess.com. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews.